going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about Ultimate Iron Man Armor Wars. This was a 4-issue miniseries by Warren Ellis and Steve Kurth. This came shortly after Ultimatum. I don't remember when it was published, but it's set like almost immediately after Ultimatum. We start with Tony Stark. He is going to one of his office buildings in New York City to retrieve a very dangerous piece of technology, and he meets Justine Hammer, the daughter of Justin Hammer, who the Ultimate version of Justin Hammer showed up early on in Ultimate Spider-Man, and he was actually responsible for a few of Spider-Man's rogues experimenting on him, trying to create superhumans illegally. And we find out he had experimented on his daughter, and she was dying from the experiments, and so she was trying to steal the designs for Tony's nanobots that he has that helps him with his armor stuff, thinking that that would save her life. And then while she's there, also the Ultimate version of Ghost shows up, and Ghost is using a version of Tony's armor to steal the thing that Tony was there to retrieve. And so then Tony ends up saving Justine Hammer's life, and then from there he wants to basically, he finds out that his technology is out there in the world, and so he wants to put out all these fires, get all of his technology out of the hands of anyone who's not him, and then I guess go on living the good life. I have realized I don't like Warren Ellis as much as I used to, and I guess that's been a long time coming. I do like most of Planetary. I liked his run on The Authority, and then just about everything else that he's written, I just haven't liked that much. I really did not like the Ultimate Human miniseries that he did. I liked the Ultimate Galactus miniseries okay. It was 3 miniseries, but I like those quite a bit more than I thought I would. After reading Ultimate Human and hating it, I really did not think I would like the Ultimate Galactus stuff, but I liked it quite a bit. I didn't hate it as much as Ultimate Human, but I didn't like it as much as Ultimate Galactus. Basically, this is just, I've never read the original Armor Wars story from the main Marvel Universe, so I don't know how much this has in common with that, other than, as far as I know, the basic premise is still the same. That Tony Stark's technology is out there, and he's trying to get it all out of the hands of other people. I don't know if Warren Ellis was aware of what Mark Millar and Carlos Pacheco were doing in Ultimate Avengers around this same time. That also was set almost immediately after Ultimatum. In fact, when Tony is going to his headquarters to get the piece of technology, he also mentions that Reed Richards is doing the same thing at the Baxter Building. And in Ultimate Avengers, Reed Richards is at the Baxter Building when the Red Skull and his terrorist group steal the designs for the Cosmic Cube. Also, in that storyline, Tony Stark is getting drunk in a strip club somewhere, and he's whining about how he killed Wolverine in Ultimatum. This story ends with Tony he's in a bar somewhere. It's not a strip club, but he's getting drunk, and he's bemoaning everything that happened to him in this story. And so I'm wondering if maybe this is supposed to be set like 3 minutes before the events of Ultimate Avengers. I don't know, because big spoilers here, the big bad guy of this story turns out to be Tony's grandfather, who he met like once when he was a little kid, and as far as Tony knew, his grandfather was dead. So this is now twice in a span of like a couple of months that we have a surprise Stark relative that we didn't even know existed showing up out of nowhere, because we had Tony's older brother Gregory Stark in Ultimate Avengers. And like I said, parts of this book read like Warren Ellis was trying to tie it in with the Ultimate Avengers story, but that could just be a huge coincidence. It could be, well, New York City was hit by a giant tidal wave. We have 2 science-minded people. Maybe they want to go and retrieve the most dangerous stuff that they have before somebody is going to loot it. And so Warren Ellis and Mark Millar are both just thinking along the same lines, and we just happen to have something from Reed Richards getting stolen in Ultimate Avengers, and Tony just happens to mention that Reed is going to the Baxter Building to get his stuff in this story. Maybe Warren Ellis had no idea what was going on in Ultimate Avengers, but it certainly feels like it is kind of trying to tie in with Ultimate Avengers, while also it is a huge coincidence, just like a really weird coincidence that we have Tony's grandfather showing up here out of nowhere, and then we also have Tony's older brother showing up out of nowhere. And at least here, Tony's grandfather says that he faked his death so that he could work on some really super secret government stuff, like when Tony was a little kid. Okay, so it makes sense that Tony wouldn't mention to Nick Fury in Millar's Ultimates, hey, by the way, did you know I had a grandfather who died when I was a little kid? Fine. It's still a little weird that Gregory Stark just shows up out of nowhere and we're expected to believe that this guy was here the whole time, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. So with this story, Tony and Justine almost immediately hook up. He's like, can you help me? I need to find out who has my technology and I can stop it. So the first person they go to, his name is Johann Faust, and he has some weird Frankensteinian type Iron Man technology servants, and Tony pretty easily takes them out. And we find out it's a little tiny MODOK inside a guy's head. And then from there, one thing I'm going to have trouble because this is a fairly episodic story, but a lot of it feels like you could kind of jumble the pieces around as long as the first and last piece are still the same, and it wouldn't really change a whole lot about the story. So it's going to be a little difficult for me to remember everything that happened here. But one thing I want to talk about before I forget is that this reminds me of, I was reading years ago, there was a trade paperback collecting the first few issues of the Mark Waid, I think it wasn't Scott, it was Humberto Ramos, the Mark Waid, Humberto Ramos Impulse series from DC from the 90s. And there was a foreword at the beginning of that trade paperback where Mark Waid was talking about how he ended one of the issues in that run with Impulse had borrowed a car and had accidentally driven it off a cliff, and he was in the car, I think with someone else. And somebody at DC asked him, okay, how are you going to get him out of that? And basically, and I'm paraphrasing something that I read like over a decade ago, but basically Mark Waid said, I don't know, that's next issue's problem. And he said that was part of the fun with that series, was being impulsive on a series about a character called Impulse. And I will say, some writers are really good at writing themselves out of a corner that they wrote themselves into, and some writers are not. And Warren Ellis has demonstrated, at least with this miniseries, that he is not very good at this. At the end of issue 1, it ends with Tony asking Justine, do you want to go grab a drink? And she says, oh, just one drink? And he says, well, by one drink I meant fill a swimming pool with, I'm not an alcoholic, so I don't know how to pronounce it, Dom Perignon, and that's how the issue ends, with him saying, I want to fill a swimming pool with Dom Perignon, and that's it. Not really a great, hook to make me want to come back for the next issue. Yeah, you've established the premise of the miniseries in the first issue, that Tony's tech is out there, and it needs to be reclaimed, but simultaneously, it was either shortly after this came out, or, at the same time that it came out, you have Ultimate Avengers, where Gregory Stark and Rhodey, War Machine, they are part of Nick Fury's new Ultimate team. And so some of Iron Man's technology is already out there. So why is it a big deal that everyone in this miniseries has it, but then it's not a big deal that Gregory Stark and War Machine are working with Nick Fury? I don't know. And that is kind of what makes me wonder if Warren Ellis didn't know about Mark Millar in Ultimate Avengers. But again, I don't know, and I'm not going to look into it. But anyway, so the first issue just kind of ends on a dud. I guess it's supposed to be a funny joke, but if it is, it lands very flat. That's the flattest joke that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, we know Tony's an alcoholic. Him saying he wants to drink a swimming pool full of alcohol really isn't that funny. And then issue 2, they go to, after they deal with the Faust guy with the MODOK in his head, then they go to, what Tony says they're going to Castle Frankenstein, and there's this guy who his grandfather, I think, was a Nazi who started several wars, and his name is Bram Velsing. And then Tony says that his name sounds like a sex act. I thought his name was just like a weird, almost inversion of Van Helsing, like Abraham Van Helsing, but they don't mention that at all. But Bram Velsing is a guy who, he has a purplish version of Iron Man's armor with a skull painted on the head. And then Tony's like, oh, weird, is this a sex thing? And again, I don't really get the joke. I don't know what is so ridiculous about this armor that's not ridiculous about Tony's armor, because I've always thought Tony's armor looks pretty ridiculous in the Ultimate Universe, but apparently his armor is just really cool and awesome, but this guy's armor is just really ridiculous, and Tony is laughing at it as soon as he sees it. But then that issue ends with these two, like, jumping toward each other, shooting lasers at each other. Okay, we already knew that these guys were going to fight. We had several pages building up to Tony confronting this guy. Ending the issue with them mid-fight isn't really that interesting of a cliffhanger. And that's what brings me back to Mark Waid ending an issue of Impulse with a car being driven off the cliff. It is a literal cliffhanger where going off the cliff, he's in danger. What's going to happen next? I have to know. I definitely want to buy the next issue. If I was buying this series in single issues, I don't know if I would have gone on to issue 2 with a really stupid joke about Tony drinking a swimming pool full of alcohol, and I don't know if I would have gone on to issue 3 with just, oh, they're fighting, they're shooting lasers at each other, okay, and I don't know what I would have done differently, but the whole miniseries just feels like, okay, I guess we need to end it here, and then I guess we need to end it here, and then here. It feels like he kind of structured like the whole thing, like he had, you know, a Google Docs open or something, and then he types like half a page of plot synopsis. Okay, here's everything that happens in this entire 4-issue miniseries, and then he goes in and starts hitting the enter key to split it up into 4 smaller chunks, and then 2 of the chunks end in these really weird, awkward places. Now, issue 3 does kind of end on a like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. Tony goes to Great Britain because Bram Belzing sold the Iron Man tech designs to the British police, and at this point I was asking myself, okay, how in the world is all of this happening so fast? Because Ghost is in Tony's building, like Tony goes there like seconds after Ultimatum, like the streets are there's still puddles of water in the streets, so this is not long after Magneto flooded New York City, and Tony goes into his building and Ghost is right there, and so then I think Justine Hammer says that Ghost was there to steal a device, a piece of technology, but some of the Stark technology stuff had already gotten out, I guess, because that's the only explanation I can have for how some of these people were already able to duplicate some Stark tech so soon after the beginning of this miniseries. And maybe I just misread something, or I'm stupid and I just didn't understand something, because I don't understand how the British government would have like 5 or 6 Iron Man armors going around stopping protesters from protesting. It seems like it would have taken years for them to build that. But maybe not. I don't know. But Tony, he goes and he fights these guys a little bit. He's unprepared because he already took damage from fighting Bram Belzing, and then he's about to drown. And that is the end of issue 3, and that was the only ending that I was like, okay, wow, like, yeah, I want to see what happens next. And then one of the British guys rescues him because Justine was able to reveal to the world that the British they bought stolen Stark tech, and I guess that means immediately it's like, okay, we're sorry, we're gonna give all this technology back. In the real world, this scandal would be revealed to the world, and then nothing would happen. So I guess Warren Ellis is a little bit of an idealist if he thinks that this actually would work in the real world, or in any facsimile of the real world. But then Tony and Justine are heading back to America, and then they get attacked, and then that's when we find out that it's Howard Stark Sr. is the bad guy, and he wants whatever the piece of technology was that Ghost stole, and that's when we find out that it is the head of a Tony Stark from another dimension. Tony and young Reed Richards, they had been dimension hopping, they had opened up portals to many other worlds, and by this point, I think we had already had, in fact, I know we had already had kind of the backdoor pilot to the Marvel Zombies comics. That was in one of the Ultimate Fantastic Four storylines, was Reed making contact with a Reed Richards from another reality, and at first you're thinking it's the 616 main Marvel Universe Reed Richards, and it's not. It's a universe where most of the Marvel superheroes are zombies, so we already had Reed Richards poking his head in other realities. And I don't know when the Ultimate Power miniseries was. That was a team up between the Ultimate Universe and the Supreme Power, the relaunch of Squadron Supreme. I think that was before Ultimatum, but I don't remember. I haven't actually read that miniseries, but so that would have been at least 2 excursions into other, I shouldn't say excursions, Jonathan Hickman used that word to mean like something else in his Avengers work, something about dimensions and going to war with other realities, but 2 different encounters, we'll say, with other realities before this. So I guess it makes sense that Tony and Reed would be playing around with this a little bit, but I feel like after you went to war with another reality's superhumans, not once but twice, you probably wouldn't do that anymore. I don't know. I mean, I guess one consistent quality about all these allegedly smart people in comics is that they're all immensely stupid. But anyway, so we find out this piece of technology that Tony wanted to retrieve is the decapitated head from a Tony Stark from that reality, and his Iron Man technology is actually alien in nature, and it kills all over technology. And so Howard Stark basically says, okay, I'm going to kill you if you don't open this box. So Tony does it. It kills Howard Stark, who's basically just a head attached to a giant body. It kills Ghost, who I guess needed technology to survive. We don't even know who Ghost is in this. And it kills Justine because she needed the nanobots to survive. And then Tony goes to a bar and gets drunk because this is a Warren Ellis comic, and so of course they have to get drunk. That's a pointed reference to his Excalibur run from the 90s. I should point out, I don't really care about Tony Stark's family. I only barely care about Tony Stark himself. I'm not a huge Iron Man reader. I have like 5 or 6 Iron Man books to my name, if that. I guess a few more if you count the Ultimate stuff behind me, but I am not really a big fan of making members of Tony Stark's family important. I don't mind the idea that he comes from like an old money family, like his dad made all the money somehow, or his grandfather made all the money, and he inherited all that, and then cut right into his superhero years. I don't mind that. But I don't really like the idea of his grandfather was also making Iron Man stuff, as we see here, or in the J. Michael Straczynski miniseries Bullet Points, Howard Stark had an Iron Man armor in World War II that he gave to Steve Rogers, or in the Marvel movies, you have Howard Stark is a very important character in the conception of Captain America, and in the years of S.H.I.E.L.D. in between the first Avenger and the first Iron Man movie. I was willing to give it a little bit of a pass in the Marvel movies because that is a tighter Marvel universe. But when you have a much more expansive Marvel universe, like in the main 616 comics or in the Ultimate Universe even, I don't need every member of Tony's family to be someone really important in the Marvel universe. I think there was a script of an Iron Man movie in the 90s that had the bad guy was actually Tony's father, and then in House of M, the bad guy that Tony, in the House of M Iron Man miniseries tie-in, the bad guy was Tony's father once again, and then in, I believe, Kieran Gillen's Iron Man run with Marvel Now, we find out that Tony's origin, everything you thought you knew is wrong, and his parents are actually not his parents. Ooh, aren't you interested? And no, I'm not. You can do interesting Iron Man stories that doesn't involve tracking everybody in Tony Stark's family tree. I just don't care about any of them. Like I said, I barely care about Tony Stark. I really don't care about his great-great-grandfather knew George Washington. Isn't that interesting? He built a scope for a gun. Everyone in his family's a genius. I don't care. You can say that his family is rich, but Tony feels less special when everybody with the last name of Stark is a tech genius. I don't know. The reveal that Tony's grandfather is the bad guy didn't do anything for me. I was 100% sure because in the first issue, Tony said that in order to bypass some of the security in his building, you need to have certain DNA markers that are exclusive to Tony. And so when he said that, I thought, oh, Gregory Stark is going to be the bad guy. And again, I have no idea if Warren Ellis even knew that Gregory Stark was a thing. But yeah, like I said, in terms of other stuff from the Ultimate Universe that Warren Ellis wrote, he did write a little bit of Ultimate Fantastic Four. It's been many years since I read any of that, but as far as some of the recent stuff that I read, I didn't hate it as much as Ultimate Human, but I didn't like it as much as the Ultimate Galactus stuff. Like I said, if I was buying this as it came out monthly, I probably wouldn't have even finished buying the series. And that is saying that as someone who, if I have 2 out of 4 issues, I would want to go ahead and finish it, but this just didn't make me want to keep reading. And I had the whole thing right here. So, yeah, not the best thing that I've read. So those are my thoughts on this miniseries. I hope you guys like this review, and I will be back in the future with something else. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.